Welcome delegates to Track 5 Technology. Let us welcome the first presenter, Zachary bin Mohammed, with his final year project titled The Efficiency of Word Wall in Online Learning Class for Secondary School Students.
Assalamualaikum and good evening everyone. My name is Zachary bin Mohammed and today I would like to present my research paper which is the efficiency of word wall in online learning class for secondary school students. Firstly, the problem statement of this study is to see whether word wall can be an effective alternative as an improvement. Yes, this application also promotes gamification and endorses GSRS, also known as Game-Based Student Response System. Moving on to research objectives, the study was conducted to find out whether word wall influence students' participation towards learning and to identify how word wall can enrich students' learning experience in the classroom. Next, the research questions of the study are: does word wall influence students' participation towards learning and how word wall can enrich students' learning experience in the classroom? The literature review of this study was divided into two theories, which are intrinsic motivation and GSRS. First of all, intrinsic motivation can be described as proclivity to engage in behavior simply for the inherent reward of the task, as being cited in Weber in 1991. As cited in Martens et al. In 2004, online learners are often required to be more intrinsically motivated because the learning environment typically relies on intrinsic motivation and the associated characteristics of curiosity and self-regulation to engage learners. Moving on to GSRS, the main benefit of using GSRS is to boost students' excitement, encourage curiosity and involvement for a topic, identify knowledge gaps, and use wrong answers as a teaching opportunity, as being shown in Delos in 2015. To add on, King in 2017 stated that GSRS can be used for formative assessment to practice skills, increase retention, and review before tests. The target audience of this research is 22 students of Wan Garu in SMK Tinggi Batu Pahat. The research instruments that I have utilized are questionnaire and video interview. The questionnaire was created by using Google Forms. It has 10 MCQ questions, and I have used Likert scale in my questionnaire. For the interview, I asked 3 students with open-ended questions by using the platform of Google Meet. The results and findings of this study will be discussed on the next slide. As you can see here, 6 students knew word wall while 16 students said no for this question. 6 students has the percentage of 27%, while 16 students has the percentage of 73%. WordWall has many templates in its features, so the most favorite template that they like is word search. It has the percentage of 81.8%. The top two main skills of language that are useful to them are reading skills and literature. You can see the pie chart on the bottom right of this presentation. From this table, there are 6 questions that are used Likert scale. 72.7 of the class strongly agreed that word wall are fun and interactive. Overall, 63.6% of the class strongly agreed that they are satisfied when they had the opportunity to use word wall during my lesson. The next instrument that I use is video interview. This interview was conducted to 3 students and it was being held in Google Meet. As a conclusion, word wall has benefited me during my teaching practicum, and this study shows that it will successfully motivate students during an online learning class. That's all from me. Thank you.
Next presenter, Nohaniza binti Abdul Rasid, with her final year project titled The Use of Google Jamboard Platform to Improve Students' Class Engagement in a Writing Skill Lesson.
Assalamualaikum and a very good day to everyone. My name is Nur Haniza binti Abdul Rasid and the title of my final year project is The Use of Google Jamboard Platform to Improve Students' Class Engagement in a Writing Skill Lesson. The purpose of this study is to determine the use of the Google Jamboard Platform on improving students' class engagement and their views on the use of Google Jamboard for the writing skills lesson. The research problem in my study is the lack of students' engagement during the writing skill lesson. This research is conducted based on two research objectives. The first one is to determine the use of Google Jamboard platform on improving students' class engagement in a writing skill lesson. And the second objective is to identify the views of the student on the use of Google Jamboard for the writing skill lessons. For the research questions, the first one is how can the use of Google Jamboard improving the students' class engagement in a writing skill lesson? And the second one, what are the views of the student on the use of Google Jamboard for the writing skill lesson? Next, for the literature review, based on the past research on the use of the Google Jamboard platform, I can conclude that Google Jamboard platform is an interactive and collaborative learning tool that promotes the students' class engagement. With Google Jamboard, teachers will be able to improve their teaching strategies and help the students retain knowledge, effective engagement, and edutainment. For the methodology, the study was carried out based on the action research method. The research instruments used in my research are a recorded lesson, questionnaire, and reflective journal. Moving on to the findings, based on the observation of the video recording and verbatim transcription of the video recording, the use of Google Jamboard platform can be seen in the writing skill lesson conducted. The findings show an active engagement on the Google Jamboard platform when the teacher asked the students to construct the sentences on it. As shown in the slide, the students were very responsive and they engaged well on the Google Jamboard platform. The teacher's reflective journal strengthened the transcription result. After going through the teacher's reflective journal, I assume that the students managed to justify their answers using their sentences when they were instructed to do the task on the Google Jamboard platform. Based on the data from the questionnaire, I can conclude that Google Jamboard platform can improve the students' class engagement in a writing skill lesson as it gave many benefits to the students. The pie chart shown in is the view on students' class engagement when using Google Jamboard in a writing skill lesson. The majority of the respondents agree that using Google Jamboard platform can increase their engagement during class. So in conclusion, the use of Google Jamboard platform are significant to improve students' class engagement in a writing skill lesson as it is an interactive tool that can promote the student learning and the class engagement. Indeed, Google Jamboard offers many features and benefits for its user. I think that's all for my presentation. Thank you for listening.
Next presenter, Cheong Mui Fong, with her final year project titled Pre-Service Teachers' Use of Digital Tools as Teaching Materials to Increase ESL Students' Participation in Online Classroom.
Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. My name is Cheong Mui Fong, metric number D018-1082583. The title of my final year project is Pre-Service Teachers' Use of Digital Tools as Teaching Materials to Increase ESL Students' Participation in Online Classroom. The purpose of this study is to give greater knowledge and understandings on pre-service teachers' use of digital tools in online classroom. Other than that, it is also to give better understanding and knowledge of students' preferable digital tools which can help educators or teachers in increasing participation of ESL students in online classroom. The problem identified of this research is teachers' lack of digital materials in online classroom, which also may affect the students' participation in online classroom. Due to the identified problems, there are 3 research objectives and also 3 research questions in my research. The 3 research objectives are to examine materials used by pre-service teacher in online classroom, to determine students' preferable digital tools that can be used as teaching materials in online classroom, and also to identify the problems and challenges faced by pre-service teachers that use digital tools in online classroom. The 3 research questions are: what are the type of materials used in online classrooms? Number 2, what are the types of digital tools that are preferable by the students to be used as teaching materials in online classrooms? And also, what are the problems and challenges faced by pre-service teacher using the digital tools in online classroom? For literature review, there are 3 main topic or aspects that I found related with my research. Number 1 was about teaching materials in ESL classroom, which focuses on Tomlinson's framework of material development. And the second one was the type of digital tools. And the third one was about learning theories for online education, which focuses on connectivism and online collaborative learning. The methodology used by this research were done through mixed method research designs, which consists of quantitative and qualitative data. The instruments of the quantitative data was survey, and the instruments of the qualitative data were classroom observation checklists and also reflective entries. Moving on to the findings and discussion. Based on this classroom observation checklist, it revealed that pre-service teachers use different types of digital tools based on the needs of the lesson. And based on the survey, which has been participated by 58 students, it revealed that majority of the students preferred WhatsApp as the chatting platform. Other than that, it also revealed that majority of the students preferred Google Meet as the platform for virtual meeting. The survey also indicated that majority of the students preferred WhatsApp as the digital tools for them to submit their tasks or work. It also shows that students preferred quizzes as the digital tools that teacher can use for games or tasks in the online classroom. And based on the reflective entries, it revealed that every type of digital tools has its own problems and challenges. In conclusion, teaching and learning tools in Malaysia have gradually changed due to the pandemic. Therefore, these studies may help teachers and educators to choose and use digital tools according to students' preference, so that student participation in online classroom can be increased. That's all from me. Thank you.
Next presenter, Nur Syazwani Vaslini binti Mat Kamil with her final year project titled The Use of Interactive Online Platforms to Improve Learners' Participation.
Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. My name is Nur Syazwani Vaslini binti Mat Kamil, and today I will be presenting my final year project. So the title of my final year project paper is The Use of Interactive Online Platforms to Improve Learners' Participation. Moving on to the research problem. So during my teaching practice, students did not show much interest and were quite passive with the lesson, as I used a traditional method classroom by using textbook as the main resource. They did not participate actively and were not able to focus throughout the lesson. This is due to the lack of self-motivation, which was caused by the sudden change in their learning environment. So in order to encourage more participation from the students, several online learning platforms were used during the lesson. After a few lessons, students are more likely to be fans of online learning platforms, as these platforms are more convenient to use. Moving on to the research objective. This research is conducted based on 2 objectives. The first objective is to identify students' perspective on the use of Kahoot and quizzes, and the second objective is to explore the advantages of using Kahoot and quizzes in ESL classroom. Next is the research question. The first research question is, what is students' perception on the use of Kahoot and Quizzes? And the second research question is, what are the advantages of using Kahoot and Quizzes in ESL classroom? Moving on to the literature review. In 2018, Licorice did a qualitative study on the perceptions of 14 university students on Kahoot as part of an information system, strategy and governance course. The results revealed that Kahoot improved the quality of the learning process in terms of students' attention, focus, participation, knowledge, retention, revision, and enjoyment. Besides, Fakhruddin and Nur Hidayat in 2020 did a research on students' perception on quizzes as game-based learning in learning grammar in written discourse. Based on the results of the research, students' interest in learning increases with the use of quizzes media in the medium of and high categories in terms of learning interest indicators. The theoretical framework that I used for my research is based on a study by Chayo and Nokam in 2017, which is designed to study the effect of quizzes on students' perception. The study stated that students relatively agree that quizzes support their learning by increasing their motivation, engagement, concentration, and satisfaction. Next is the methodology. This research used a mixed-type approach, both qualitative and quantitative. This research design is action research. Meanwhile, the sampling chosen for the study is the students that I taught during my teaching practice, which are Form 1 students with intermediate proficiency level. Next, I will be talking about the results and the findings from the study. So the findings of the study demonstrate that students show a positive attitude towards the use of online learning platforms such as Kahoot and Quizzes. These platforms manage to grab their attention and encourage them to participate actively in the lesson. They also perceive these platforms to be helpful in their learning process as they are able to still have fun while learning the language. The platforms also improve classroom dynamics and created a more positive learning environment as students are competing with each other, and this livens up the atmosphere of the lesson. So, in conclusion, these platforms need to be utilized more often as learning tools in ESL classroom in order for both students and teachers to make use of the benefits that this platform offers. That is all from me.
Next presenter is Dian Hanani binti Isam with her final year project titled The Implementation of Padlet Platform as a Teaching Aid in ESL Classroom, a Qualitative Study.
Greetings everyone, my name is Izan Hanani binti Isam and I am under Dr. Aladdin's supervision. And the topic of my final year project is implementation of Padlet platform as teaching aid in ESL classroom among the pre-service teachers. Now, we're looking on the research introduction. The issue that I would like to tackle in the study is how to assist the pre-service teachers in their online classroom based on their previous teaching apprenticeship, as all of the classes are being held online, mainly due to COVID-19 outbreak that happened worldwide. In response to this, my objective is to investigate how the Padlet platform functions as a teaching aid in assisting ESL classroom among the pre-service teacher, as well as identifying the advantages and disadvantages of the Padlet platform. As such, I have two recent questions. The first one is how the Padlet platform functions as teaching aids in assisting the ESL classroom, where the second research question is what are the advantages and disadvantages of using the Padlet platform. Now moving on to the literature review. Based on the article, I can conclude that the Padlet platform is one of the technological applications in an educational setting that offers great benefits to students, such as collaborating with their peers, flexible to use, as will work on completely different devices despite the situation and also time. Moreover, to see the Padlet platform as a web digital tool, it can provide opportunities to students to share their ideas on any assignment and tasks that are given by the teachers, whether they are at home or it can be in the classroom. Moving on to the research methodology, I used the qualitative approach in this study. And I've collected my data in this research by using one primary instrument, which is the semi-structured interview. In the sense of data analysis, I've used the thematic analysis as it is a versatile analysis method that fits with my data source and also allowing me to organize all of my findings. For the finding, the respondents, who consists of 5 pre-service teachers, were asked 4 questions based on their previous teaching experience. And these are the following interview questions that have been asked. The first one, are you familiar with the Padlet platform? Second, do you remember using the Padlet platform in your previous teaching apprenticeship in your class? If so, at what stage of the lesson do you use it most regularly? The third question, how can this Padlet platform use as a teaching aid in making the teaching and learning process to be more meaningful based on your own experience and understanding? And the fourth one, could you perhaps list some of the advantages and disadvantages of using the Padlet platform as a teaching tool in addition to the reason for using it? To sum up all of the interview questions, we can see that all of the pre-service teachers are familiar with the Padlet platform for the first question. Following that, they all have used this platform in their classroom, primarily for the post-lesson activity. And for the third question, they have the same reasoning for using the Padlet platform, which is to be one of the platforms for their students to submitting all of their assignments and tasks that are given during the class. And last but not least, all of the respondents agree on the main advantages and disadvantages that have been mentioned of implementing the Padlet platform, which is easy to use for both teachers and students while also being very accessible. Yet, in order for the teachers or students to use the platform's full advanced feature, they must subscribe and pay for it. Finally, the Padlet platform is found to be useful as a teaching aid in ESL classroom among the pre-service teachers in the study. Based on the opportunity offered to the students, this Padlet platform should be considered for integration in the classroom. And also, the future research can take a look into how to address the difficulties that the pre-service teachers facing during implementing the Padlet platform in their ESL classroom. With that, it sums up all of the presentation that I have for today, and that is all from me. Thank you.
Next presenter, Nur Anis Atasha binti Muhammad Asman with her final year project titled The Use of Quizzes to Attract Students' Participation in an Online Classroom.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day to everyone. My name is Nur Anis Atasha binti Muhammad Asman, and my research topic is about the use of quizzes to attract students' participation in an online classroom. Since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic in March 2020, students and teachers had to adapt to a new way of learning, which was through online classroom. The expansion of the use of online has widely become the norm for everyday educational institutions. So from there, it came with complications that the teacher had to face in order to teach the students online. One of the complications that will be highlighted in this research is the students' lack of participation in the classroom. So the objective of this research is to identify whether quizzes can be used to improve students' participation in an online classroom. And the second objective is to investigate students' participation when quizzes is implemented in an online classroom. The research is conducted based on the following question. First, can quizzes improve students' participation in an online classroom? And second, how students participate when quizzes is implemented in the lesson? Okay. So from the literature review, Chikrin and Gamson has recommended that the concept of interaction is a core element of good practice in education. One of which is encouraging students, developing cooperation among students, engaging in active learning, providing quick feedback, emphasizing the amount of time dedicated to tasks, communicating high expectations, and respecting diverse talents and ways of learning. Yadullahi and Rahimi, the sheer presence of technological tools like online quiz, games, and web-based learning in teaching and learning process has allowed a whole new world of exploration into the matter of teaching efficacy. The instruments that were used for this research were question surveys and teachers' reflective journals. The participants that were involved in this research were Form 2 students for the observation and the pre-service teacher that has done their practicum. The method that I use for this research is convergent parallel mixed method, as I use quantitative data and qualitative data at the same time. The result that came out from those two findings is that quizzes helps to improve the students' participation in an online classroom. The second finding is that when using quizzes, it has increased their excitement as they urge the other students to join the quizzes. So overall, quizzes has helped improve students' participation as it has motivated the students to join the classroom activities. So that is all from me. Thank you.
Next presenter, Lim Shu Hui, with a final year project titled The Use of Mentimeter Application in Teaching and Learning Process to Accommodate Different Learning Styles in an Online ESL Classroom.
Ashley, can you give me the answer for question 2? Are you there, Ashley?
Online classes are never easy. That's why we as teachers have to make them more engaging. Good day, everyone. My name is Lim Shu Hui with the matrix number D20181082-624. The title of my final year project is the use of Mentimeter application in teaching and learning process to accommodate different learning styles in an online ESL classroom. My supervisor is Dr. Noor Al-Husna binti Maslan. The focus of this study is on the use of Mentimeter application in an online ESL classroom. This study is carried out to observe how Mentimeter application can be used in an online ESL classroom. The researcher tries to study how Mentimeter is different from other online educational tools and can bring impact to students of different learning styles. This research is also intended to study the pedagogical theories and advantages of using Mentimeter application during teaching and learning process. The observed objectives of the research is to observe the use of Mentimeter application in teaching and learning process to accommodate different learning styles in an online ESL classroom, and to observe the pedagogical theories and advantages of using Mentimeter application in an online ESL classroom. As for the research question, there are two, which are how can the use of Mentimeter application in teaching and learning process accommodate different learning styles in an online ESL classroom? And what are the pedagogical theories and advantages of using Mentimeter application in an online ESL classroom? Chickering and Ganson in 1987 came up with 7 principles, including encourages active learning and gives prompt feedback. These 2 principles can be implemented via Mentimeter by involving the students in structured exercises and cooperation, and letting them know what they have learned and where they need to improve. Many lecturers, such as Michel Leto, have attributed the lack of student engagement to the obstacle to achieving learning outcomes. This research used Kurt Levin's model, which is a cycle that consists of a predefined process, including planning, acting, observing, and reflecting, that are repeated over time. The instruments used in this action research is a recording of a lesson that used Mentimeter application and a questionnaire designed for this action research. The picture shown in the slide is a screenshot from the past learning practicum 1. When I used Mentimeter in one of the classes, I received so many responses from the students, and this had never happened before. You can see there were so many submissions in the word cloud, and that was also why I wanted to study more about this application for my final year project. The finding of this action research is that Mentimeter is an audience response system, ARS, or student response system, SRS, that has 13 interactive question types, which a presenter can utilize to interact with his or her audience. The key purpose of using this technology is to break the inefficient one-way communication embedded in the traditional lectures, where the teachers are the only speakers and students are just listeners. The limitation of this action research is that the research should have had another similar class conducted without using Mentimeter application to observe the difference between them. Otherwise, the researcher could have also conducted a lesson that used another online tool such as Kahoot or Quizlet to compare their effectiveness in an online ESL classroom. That's all for my presentation. Thank you so much for listening.
Next presenter, Muhammad Rafi Harin bin Zahali Mahmud, with his final year project titled The Use of Multimedia Elements in Influencing Students' Motivation to Join Online Learning.
Assalamualaikum and greetings everyone. My name is Muhammad Rafi Harin bin Zahali Mahmud, and today I will be presenting the topic of my final year project. The title of my final year project is The Use of Multimedia Elements in Influencing Students' Motivation to Join Online Learning. Before we go any further, first allow me to explain about the purpose of this study. The purpose of this research being conducted is to explore the impacts of multimedia elements on students' motivation in ESL online classroom by examining the justification of each multimedia element in detail. For this research, there are 3 research objectives that I have created. The first research objective is to identify the multimedia elements used in an ESL online class in a secondary school context, followed by the second research objective, which is to identify which multimedia element have a high motivation factor, and lastly, for the last research objective is to determine the justification of why each element has a different level of motivation factor. Based on these research objectives, I have also listed out 3 research questions, which are: the first one, what are the types of multimedia elements used in an online lesson? Second one, what types of multimedia elements promote a higher motivation rate for students to join online lessons? And the last research question is, why do each multimedia elements have different level of motivation factor? Based on the past research related to this topic and the literature review that I have conducted, it has been proven that the usage of multimedia elements does improve students' motivation in joining the teaching and learning process. This research employed a quantitative research design, and the research method uses surveys to collect the data. As for the research instruments used, questionnaires have been distributed to 19 English teachers and 69 students to obtain data needed for this study. Based on the research that I have conducted, there are several findings that I have discovered. First one would be 89.5% respondents, which represented 17 English teachers, uses video elements as their teaching and learning materials in an online class. This research also found that 30.4% respondents, which represented 21 students, selected animation elements as the multimedia element that motivated them the most in terms of joining an online class. Besides that, this research also found that the use of multimedia elements improves students' motivation, especially with the use of animation elements, which the students believe help make the lesson even more fun, as well as help explain some concepts closer to reality. That's all from me. Thank you.
Next presenter, Ahmad Harid Haji bin Ahmad Zaki, and his final year project titled Exploring the Use of Mobile Instant Messaging Amongst ESL Secondary School Teachers and Students.
Assalamualaikum to all. My name is Ahmad Haris Hadri bin Ahmad Zaki, and the title of my study is Exploring the Use of Mobile Instant Messaging Amongst ESL Secondary School Teachers and Students. The purpose of this study is to investigate the possible methods of using mobile instant messaging and how it is implemented by teachers and students for educational use. With schools having to resort to online learning due to the pandemic, teachers and students face a lot of complications, one of which they try to find a good platform as a central hub for teaching and learning. Just having virtual classes via online conferences platforms are not enough for students to have an effective learning environment. There are 3 research objectives that I focus on for this study. First is to find out how ESL secondary school teachers implement mobile instant messaging in their classroom. Second is to investigate the advantages and disadvantages of using it. And finally, to find out the students' views on the use of mobile instant messaging in their lessons. From what I've gained from my literature review, a key fact emerged. The fact being that the majority of younger generations are already acquainted with instant messaging apps in their life. And according to Moreira and Kellier 2017, the majority of higher education students are active in using mobile instant messaging for communications and others, such as to exchange information amongst themselves or share other materials, either for entertainment or for learning. As a result, usage of it can be assimilated in their learning easily because they are familiar with the platform. A qualitative research was used for data collection, which then was analyzed using a content analysis. 3 teachers and 5 students were involved for the data collection. A structured interview was used for both teachers' responses and students' responses. 2 Google Forms were prepared, as one contains questions directed to the teachers while the other is for the students. In my findings, all 3 teachers used Telegram to hand out work and notes for their students, and 1 out of 3 also use it for online classes. Another thing that all the teachers mentioned was that although it is a good way to promote a better learning experience for the students, certain lessons, such as listening lessons or speaking lessons, can be affected by either unstable network or unreachable network. On the students' side, 3 out of 5 students agree that learning can be made easier through mobile instant messaging. All students also agree that there is a possibility that they can be distracted from learning as they are connected to the internet and might sway their attention during learning sessions. In conclusion, even with a few problems that could happen due to technical or personal issues, mobile instant messaging is without a doubt a good platform for both teachers and students to ensure an effective online learning environment. And that is all from me. Thank you.
Next presenter, Amir Akmal bin Ahmad, and his final year project titled The Use of Video Games Amongst Pre-Service ESL Teachers to Improve Their English Vocabulary.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day to everyone. I am Amir Akmal bin Ahmad, and for my final year project, I decided to do a research on the use of video games amongst pre-service ESL teachers to improve their vocabulary. So let us start with the research problem. Based on past research that I have found, Malaysian ESL speakers actually have low vocabulary level. So this research seeks to solve that issue by using video games. Moving on with the research questions and research objectives. The objective of this research is to identify the ways video games can help pre-service ESL teachers to improve their English vocabularies. And the second research objective is to investigate the pre-service ESL teachers' opinions on the benefits and the drawbacks of learning English through playing video games. As for the research question, the first research question is how video games can help pre-service ESL teachers to improve their English vocabulary. And for the second question, what is the pre-service ESL teachers' opinions on the benefits and the drawbacks of learning English through playing video games? Moving on with the literature review, based on past studies, I can conclude that audio-visual medias in video games have helped people in learning English vocabulary, such as subtitles, the voice acting in video games, the narration, and etc. Other than that, I also found the benefits and the drawbacks of learning English vocabulary through video games. The benefits are that video games are fun, for one, and the second one is video games are able to keep players' attention for a long period of time. And the drawbacks are at risk of addiction for players, and then the focus of most games is not to learn new words. The method that I use to carry out this study is through qualitative approach, and the method that I use to analyze the data is through content analysis method. For the instruments, I used a survey consisting of open-ended questions, 4 open-ended questions. The first question asks what video game elements that have helped you in learning English vocabulary. The second question is to elaborate on how those elements have helped them learn English vocabulary. And the third and fourth question asks participants to give their opinion on what are the benefits and the drawbacks of learning English vocabulary through video games. So from this research, I found that these are the video game elements that have helped participants in improving their English vocabulary. The first one is subtitles, because it shows unfamiliar words, allow players to read while listening to dialogues, helps to understand the contents of the game, and it can enhance reading skills. The second one is in-game interactions. The reasons that they give is because some game characters would use unique words based on the context of the game. It is crucial in order to progress in some games, allow players to communicate with in-game characters, and it can improve writing skills. The third video game element is gaming communities, because it allows communicating with native speakers. People are able to ask the community about unfamiliar words, and it can also improve writing skills. The fourth video game element is game instructions. Game instructions because it is crucial to understand in order to progress. And the second reason is it explains the complex terms in the game. The fifth video game element is game narrative. This is because games offer many different contexts which introduces players to new words and terms. And the last video game element that they have answered is voice acting. And the reason that they give is because it allows players to listen to the pronunciation of the words being said. And here's what I found for the benefits and the drawbacks. For the benefits, it is fun. People are able to acquire new English words unconsciously. Different games give different contexts, which will produce different words. It allows communication with players around the world, and it can improve writing skills. For the drawbacks, promotes inaccurate grammar, too colloquial. It exposes players to vulgar language. Some words cannot be applied or used in real life. The range of vocabulary depends on the context of the game. Unfamiliar context which leads to wrong usage of the words. Not all games allow players to practice their newly acquired words, risk being addicted to the game, and finally, video games are expensive and take too much time to finish. So that is all from me. Thank you very much for listening.
Next presenter, Nur Hidayah Amalia Alia binti Zulkifli, and her final year project titled The Type of Online Tools Used by ESL Teachers During Online Learning and Their Perceptions on Using the Tools.
Assalamualaikum and greetings to all coordinators of FYP, supervisors, TESOL lecturers and fellow friends. My name is Nur Hidayah Amalia Alia binti Zulkifli. I will be presenting my final year project entitled The Types of Online Tools Used by ESL Teachers During Online Learning and Their Perceptions on Using the Tools. The problem statement addressed by this study is that COVID-19 outbreak leaves significant global impact towards educational system. It causes the closure of education sector at all levels. With that being said, educators all across the world were urged to shift traditional classroom to online learning. Problems can be seen in terms of the teachers' preparedness, adaptability, mentality, and effort to cope with the sudden changes. Hence, it brings me to focus on 2 research objectives, which are first, to study the types of online tools used by ESL teachers during online learning, and second, to study the teachers' perceptions on using the tools. Similar to my research question, first, what are the types of online tools used by ESL teachers during online learning, and second, what are the teachers' perceptions on using the tools? For literature review, I can conclude that teachers agree that online tools could facilitate learning and improve students' performance. This is because online tools have a lot of interesting and attractive characteristics. It is proven that both teachers and students enjoy using digital learning tools as it enhances positive outcome of teaching and learning process. In terms of the teacher's perception, there are positive and negative view. Teachers understand the effectiveness of online tools due to the abundant advantages. However, some studies reveal that knowing the advantages of the tools alone is not enough if the teachers are lack of pedagogical and digital literacy. Moving on to methodology, this study is conducted by using mixed method, which is the combination of quantitative and qualitative data. The sample of this study consists of 35 ESL teachers. 5 teachers were chosen to be interviewed, while 30 teachers were given a set of questionnaire survey to answer. The questions were created to answer both research questions. To answer the first research question, the findings reveal that majority of the teachers used Google Meet to conduct synchronous lesson and used Telegram and WhatsApp to conduct a synchronous lesson. Next, the most common tools that were used to conduct activities and assessment are live worksheet, Google Form, and quizzes. The reason is because the tools are easy to use and consume less data. To answer the second research question, the findings reveal that the teachers have positive perception regarding this matter. The positivity can be seen as they mostly voted for high rating scale regarding their level of adaptation, acknowledgement, competence, and preparedness on using online tools. However, the teachers also face some challenges. Unstable internet connection and burden to prepare online materials are the major issue. However, effective solutions were taken to overcome the issues and to ensure the successfulness of teaching and learning process. In conclusion, both research questions have been successfully achieved. The types of online tools used by ESL teachers has been clearly identified and positive perception can be seen from the teachers. The major limitation of this study is that scholar articles related to online tools are limited. And then for future research, it is recommended that researchers involve bigger size of sample to receive more accurate result. Before I end this presentation, I would like to thank my supervisor, Madam Nur Alia Amira, for all her guidance throughout the process of completing this research. That's all from me. Thank you.
Our final presenter, Farika Anidia Naila, who is from Universitas Muhammadiyah Semarang, Indonesia, with her project titled Students' Perception on YouTube Music to Enhance Listening Comprehension.
Hello everyone, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Fariha Anidia Naila. Here I make collaboration with Ms. Testiana Deniwijiatiningsi, and I will present my article, and the title is Students' Perception on YouTube Music to Enhance Listening Comprehension. So the first component of this article is called abstract, and the goals of this study is to explore the use of YouTube Music to gain listening comprehension in students' perspective. The number of students who participate is 71 from class 7 and 8 from SMP Negeri 1 Jepara. The second one is introduction, and the first paragraph is talk about the definition of listening, and the second one is the use of YouTube Music as a media to improve students' ability, and the last is about the aims of this study is to explore the use of YouTube Music to gain listening comprehension, especially in students' perspective. The second one is about the method, and here I use a descriptive quantitative research method, and all questions are used questionnaire Likert scale with 5 categories. There are 10 questions on the questionnaire with 10 indicators. The first indicators is talking about students using YouTube Music apps. The second one is student interest to listen English song on YouTube Music. The third, YouTube Music can improve better listening. And the fourth is YouTube Music waste the data that makes students can enjoy their learning process. And the fifth, if YouTube Music have many ads that make students feel disturbed when they are learning in YouTube Music application. And the sixth is YouTube Music often stalled. And the seventh is the content of YouTube Music are various that make students can enjoy their learning activities. And yet is about students' perception after listening to pop music via YouTube Music. And the ninth is YouTube Music is enough for studying listening. And the last indicator is talking about YouTube Music is the best solution for improving listening. In conclusion, this goal of the research is to investigate perception towards YouTube Music, and the finding revealed that using YouTube Music as media to enhance listening comprehension is good because the content of YouTube Music is varied and it easy to access for everyone. So YouTube Music is essential platform to enhance listening comprehension. However, for some students are facing internet trouble when they access YouTube Music, so that YouTube Music often stalls. All in all, YouTube Music is good for students to enhance the listening comprehension. The last is the reference. Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
We hope you have gained knowledge from our presenters. Please do join us for the keynote speaker session that will begin in a few minutes. Thank you and see you there.